You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? When you're constantly second-guessing yourself in a relationship that's supposed to feel safe? When you replay conversations in your head at 2 a.m. wondering if you're the problem, if you're overreacting, if maybe you really are too sensitive? Here's what nobody tells you about manipulation. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't walk through the door screaming threats or making demands. No, manipulation is subtle. It's insidious. It slips past even the most self-aware person because it disguises itself as concern, as love, as just trying to help. And by the time you realize what's happening, you've already lost pieces of yourself. Today, I'm breaking down the 7 subtle signs you're being manipulated, the ones that fly under the radar, the ones that cost you your peace before you even know you're under attack. By the end of this video, you'll have the emotional clarity to see these tactics for exactly what they are, and more importantly, you'll know what to do about it. Let's get into it. Sign 1. Monopolizing the conversation. They talk and they talk and they talk, but you never get a word in. This isn't just someone who loves the sound of their own voice. This is a calculated move. When a manipulator monopolizes every conversation, they're doing something very specific. They're controlling the frame of the interaction. They're making sure their version of reality is the only one on the table. Think about it. If they never let you finish a sentence, if they steamroll over your thoughts with their own stories, their own justifications, their own version of events, you never get to challenge them. You never get to say, wait, that's not how it happened. You never get the space to advocate for yourself. And here's the dark psychology behind it. The more they talk, the more they convince you they're right. It's a war of attrition. They exhaust you into submission. The red flag? If they can't let you finish a sentence during a normal conversation, imagine what happens when there's a real disagreement. Imagine trying to set a boundary. Imagine trying to leave. You won't get the chance to explain yourself. They've already made sure of that. Sign 2. The comparison trap. They compare you to someone else to shift something about you. It might be subtle. My ex used to love surprising me with little gifts. Or maybe it's more direct. I thought you were different. Here's what's happening. They're using comparison as a tool to make you feel inadequate. They're creating a phantom standard that you can't live up to, and they're making you chase it. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine a partner casually mentioning how generous and thoughtful their ex was with expensive surprises. They're not just sharing a memory, they're planting a seed. Suddenly, you feel pressured to spend more or do more, all because you don't want to be the cheap or uncaring one. And then comes the killer line. I thought you were different. That phrase is manipulation gold. It forces you to scramble for their approval. It makes you feel like you failed some invisible test, and suddenly you're bending yourself into shapes you never intended, just to prove you're worthy. Watch for this. Comparison isn't connection, it's control. Sign 3. Flattery as leverage. They use compliments to butter you up, so you'll do what they ask later. Now, don't get me wrong. Compliments can be genuine, but when someone is manipulating you, flattery becomes currency. They're making a deposit now so they can make a withdrawal later. You're the only one who really understands me. You're so much more mature than everyone else. I knew I could count on you. You always come through. Sounds nice, right? But here's the dark psychology angle. They're isolating you. They're making you feel uniquely responsible for their well-being. They're positioning themselves as someone only you can save. And when you inevitably fail to meet their impossible expectations, the flattery stops, the coldness begins, and you're left wondering what you did wrong. The truth is, if someone's compliments always come with strings attached, they're not compliments, they're contracts. Sign 4. Love bombing. Affection on steroids. They give you affection on steroids, early, intense, and unrealistic. This is love bombing, and it's one of the most dangerous manipulation tactics out there. In the beginning, it feels incredible. They text you all day. They shower you with gifts. They tell you they've never felt this way about anyone. They talk about your future together after the second date. But here's what's really happening. They're creating an emotional dependency. They're making you feel like you finally found someone who gets you, who sees you. And because the intensity is so high, so fast, it creates a sense of obligation. You think, this person loves me so much, how could I ever leave them? And that's exactly the point. Love bombing is a shortcut to fake intimacy. It skips over the slow, healthy process of getting to know someone. It rushes you into vulnerability before you've built trust, and it makes it that much harder to leave when the mask comes off. If it feels too good to be true this early, it probably is. Sign 5. Shifting blame and the blame game. When you bring up something they did that hurt you, they flip the script and make you the bad guy. You gather your courage, you sit them down, you say, "Hey, when you did this, it really hurt me." And instead of an apology, you get, "You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. I was just joking." Suddenly, the conversation isn't about their hurtful behavior anymore. It's about your reaction. It's about how you can't take a joke, how you're too emotional, how you're making a big deal out of nothing. Let me translate those phrases for you. "You're too sensitive" really means, "I don't want to acknowledge how my behavior affects you." "I was just joking" really means, "I want to say what I want without consequences." This is Gaslighting 101, and the result? You start doubting your own feelings. You start thinking maybe you are the problem. Maybe you are too sensitive. But here's the truth. Your feelings are valid, and anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is manipulating you. Sign 6. Weaponized guilt. They bring up past favors to remind you that you owe them. "After everything I've done for you, I was there for you when no one else was. You'd be nothing without me." This is weaponized guilt, and manipulators are experts at it. Here's what they're doing. They're keeping score. Every favor, every kind gesture, every moment of support, they filed it away. And when you step out of line, when you set a boundary, when you try to leave, they pull out the ledger. They use your sense of loyalty, your sense of gratitude as a tool for control. But healthy relationships don't keep score. Healthy relationships don't hold past kindness over your head like a sword. Healthy relationships give freely, without the expectation of a debt to be paid. If someone constantly reminds you what they've done for you, they're not loving you. They're controlling you. Sign 7. The fake majority. Recruiting. They claim everyone else agrees with me to make you feel isolated. Everyone thinks you're overreacting. Your friends even told me they're worried about you. No one else would put up with this. This is the fake majority tactic, and it's devastatingly effective. Why? Because it taps into your primal need to belong. It makes you feel like you're the outlier, the problem, the one who's wrong. And because humans are social creatures, the fear of social rejection is powerful. But here's the thing. They're lying. Or at the very least, they're twisting the truth. They might have cherry-picked one comment from one person and blown it up into a consensus. Or they might have manipulated others into agreeing with them by presenting a distorted version of events. The result? You feel alone. You feel like no one is on your side. And that isolation makes it easier for them to control you. So what do you do if you recognize these signs? First, the gray rock method. Become as uninteresting and unengaged as possible. Give short, boring answers. Show no emotional reaction. This cuts off their narcissistic supply. Second, set firm boundaries. And here's the key. State exactly what will happen if they violate them. "If you call me names, I will hang up the phone." Then follow through. Third, consider the silent exit. If communication isn't working, if they refuse to respect your boundaries, sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is leave without explanation. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone access to your mental and emotional well-being. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, recognizing manipulation is the first step to reclaiming your power. I'll see you in the next one.